I think the problem that we see right now is that we are trying to press the old medium into this new technology. And so for evolvement, we have to produce it in a completely different way.
Maybe VR, like real VR, is just like a bridging technology which is now for nerds and so on. And the actual breakthrough will not come from virtual reality, but from augmented reality, right?
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Innovation Engineer podcast, your favorite place for picking brains of your favorite engineers. So grab your nerdiest mugs, fill it with a beverage of choice, and enjoy. My name is Tarek.
And my name is Washi.
And today we ask ourselves, what is the state of VR and AR?
Yeah, actually, AR and VR is kind of your passion project, right, Tarek? So you do it for years. And I think many people say it's just a toy for rich people and for nerds. So, Tarek, are you actually a rich guy or a rich kid? Let's call it a rich kid, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, not really, but I'm in the luxurious position that I'm an adult now, and so I have something like a real income, and I can buy the toys that I really want to. And in this case, I really enjoy playing around with VR and AR, and I took the liberty and actually buy a Valve Index, which is kind of a very expensive piece of equipment. But for me, it is worth. I always dreamt about playing around with VR technology. And when in 2015, the Oculus actually came out on the market, I was the first one to pre-order it and play around since. And it's really amazing. And so in this direction, I could consider myself a rich kid, right? What about you? Are you in VR?
Well, first of all, I always considered myself as a rich kid and as a nerd, both at the same time. And so I'm a Nintendo boy. I grew up with Nintendo. So and there was this virtual boy device. In the end, it's actually kind of a Game Boy, not really VR, but it was kind of the first VR. Not really a headset, it was more like stationary. So I always wanted all Nintendo gear. So, and I was not really a rich kid. So I wanted, as a young boy, an N64, never got one, bought one as an adult. So I can feel, when I got my first job, I started buying a lot of different things I could not afford as a child. So, no, I don't have modern VR gear. We had it at work. So we had a lot of VR gear at work. I tried out different things. I played a lot of VR games at work, again, not in private, because what you actually need is like a high-end graphics card. And those are very expensive. Or I thought I would buy a newer one. So I was like, okay, you need I forgot what it was, 1,770 GeForce card at least or something like this. And I was always like one tier below, even as kind of a gamer, I was always one graphic card tier below the ones which were recommended for the best VR experience. So I didn't buy VR stuff, no.
Yeah, did you have the Nintendo Power Glove?
No, I saw it a lot of like Nintendo magazines. So the official one, and there was the other German one, which I had nearly every issue actually of. They always wanted one, and I love also like movies where they have the Power Glove and then they do some hacking and so. And movies like Hackers, of course, where they just put on the glasses. Which reminds me, in the latest Star Trek Picard, actually, season 2 it is, they have like actually AR goggles, which look like Oculus goggles, and it's VR. So it's like they use AR goggles to like have fake VR in Star Trek. I always think Star Trek is the next big thing.
Oh man, I'm not up to date with Picard yet. So I watched season 1, but I didn't see season 2 yet.
Yeah, but let's come back actually to the actual question. What is the state of VR and AR? So I was promised as a teenager that VR will be the thing. I read Ready Player One, where like the world was devastated, like everything was kind of like a desert, and the cities were polluted. So everyone went into VR games, played it, and I mean that was the same with online games, right? When I was young, there was like EverQuest, which was really nerdy and was not mainstream, and then World of Warcraft came, and I actually got even a World of Warcraft beta key. That was my dream actually back in the days. Problem was I had only 56k internet, so I wasn't able to play World of Warcraft. That was the only reason I went to university, because I had like a gamer friend back in the days, and he was at university, and they had like 100 Mbit internet connection. I was like, okay, if you want to play World of Warcraft, you need to go there. And I actually always was thinking, okay, this one VR game will come out where you really want to buy the equipment. It was the same like with a graphics card. When Tomb Raider came out, it looked shit on my 2D graphics card, so you bought the Voodoo graphics cards. It was like with, okay, Wing Commander, you could get 15 discs, or you get a CD-ROM drive. Or when Baldur's Gate came out, it had an installation size of 1.2 gigabytes. And I was like, okay, I need a new hard disk. That's when I bought my first 10 gigabyte hard disk just to play this game. And I'm waiting for this one game in VR where I really need to buy the equipment. Is there a game where we say it is already out there?
I think, of course, it's still in this transitional phase where we have this bulky hardware, and it's not as in Ready Player One, where people like the whole city is playing and walking around and moving in VR as they do in real life. So we are not quite there yet. But there are a lot of amazing games that already give you this sense of immersion where you feel like they are perfectly suited for VR. And one example, for example, is Beat Saber, a very lightweight game where you don't have to do anything than swing around a lightsaber and hitting blocks, and it sounds very casual, but it's a lot of fun. And this one is really amazing for getting into this scene of VR. And I think the most popular VR game yet, or let's say the best adaptation of VR technologies, is Half-Life Alyx, which is created by Valve. And this one I played, and it's really amazing because it's completely designed to get you into this feeling of VR. You are living in this world of Half-Life, where which you know from the old games, but this time you're really in there. But there's still this caveat that you have to use this teleportation workaround where you aim for where you want to go and then jump there, because you can't literally move in the in the virtual world with your feet. And there we start having these new devices, which you could say like wearables, like the Power Glove, for example, but also, for example, the Catwalk C. Do you know this catwalk thing where you strap yourself in and move in a kind of a walk with these glidey shoes? And so your feet are actually doing the walking movement, and you use this to walk in VR. This one is, for example, perfect to play Half-Life, because you can literally walk and shoot and look around, and this is really working well. And this starts to get kind of into the mainstream of gamers. Not really mainstream in terms of everyone has it, but it is something that you can directly buy and put into your living room or into your bedroom and actually use it to move around in VR. So when you take Ready Player One as some kind of future vision of where we go with VR, then we are kind of already there. Yeah, and we start using devices like this in real life. Yeah. Do you consider getting into this real VR vibe with not only buying this graphic card, but actually buying something like the new version of the Power Glove, like haptic gloves, and this catwalk device where you strap yourself in?
Yes and no, it's the same time. So that's a tricky question. So I want this. So when I started playing World of Warcraft, it was like a total different experience, this community thing, and it was like really addictive. It was really, really great, and everyone was playing World of Warcraft, like millions of players. I think they had like 15 million players, which counted as the whole population of the world sound not that much, but it was really a breakthrough for a whole genre of games, and also for internet connections, because then everyone, the same with streaming, everyone wanted faster internet. So, but with this VR stuff, I'm a big fan of Minecraft, and I tried Minecraft in VR, and it's perfect. So the graphics is really perfect for VR. It's great. And the problem is this motion sickness, right? So what you do actually is you sit in front of a virtual television and play Minecraft. So you can see the great graphics, but you're still like on a fixed position to work against the sickness. And the same is true with Half-Life Alyx. That's not what I imagine when you think about VR games. And I think most people also want a different kind of gaming with more action, with different games, like role-playing games. And like most games people play today, they are not really fit for VR. There's another great game, which is Moss. So this is an adventure game with this little mice, where you stand on top of the world and you can look around and you see all the characters, and then can you say or click anywhere and say, go there and do some stuff. And you are more like an observer. And this works really, really well. And I think that's even a better adaptation of VR technology, that you're standing in kind of a really awesome looking world. It's so beautiful. And you're looking at, like, for example, a mouse, a small animal, crawling around, doing stuff. That works well. But the other games, like shooters, like Half-Life Alyx, it really is great. But compared to other gaming experiences, yes, it's perfectly fit for VR, but still, it's not the kind of game I want to play all the time. So I currently prefer to just take my Switch, sit on my couch and play like a great RPG, for example, there, or like play Minecraft on my 4K or even 5K big screen. It's better actually than the VR experience, even if it looks great in VR. It's a little bit exhausting.
Yeah. But the topic of motion sickness is, of course, one of the biggest obstacles of getting VR like into the mainstream. And these new devices, the problem with motion sickness is when your eyes see things that your body does not experience, which happens a lot when you move in VR. And so these new devices, which helps your body actually move around in this world. And for example, if you duck and go like low with your body and your VR character is doing the same and your perspective changes like that, this helps enormous with fighting motion sickness. I think the worst playing experiences that I ever had was exactly this problem where I sat in my chair and moved around in VR using like keyboard and mouse and stuff. And so the character was moving and looking left and right, but my body didn't move. And so this was really screwing with my brain and I got sick very, very quickly. My favorite game actually is something that is similar to what you just described, where I'm sitting in a cockpit of a spaceship. It's called Elite Dangerous. It's a VR simulation game. And the most amazing thing in there is that I really can sit comfortable in my chair and fly through space. And my body accepts this because I am in a cockpit. So the airship is flying around and doing maneuvers and everything, and I can move my head and look outside of the window. And so I have this immersive experience of sitting in a cockpit, but my body does not feel sick because the brain thinks I'm in a cockpit. I do not have to move around and walk around, and so it's not breaking reality for me. So this is a kind of good compromise between not having to move and still have this amazing VR experience.
Yeah, your wife actually told me that you're so addicted to this game that you added a Slack console to your cockpit so that she can message you. So for something like, yeah, dinner is ready and stuff, right? It's an awesome story, actually.
Yeah, it's really, and at some point of time I have to show you like my chair that I'm sitting in right now, because I have my joystick and the throttle and everything attached to the chair. And so yeah, it's true. And when I'm in my cockpit, I have the Slack console and everything. So, and this all helps with the immersion, because I do not have to take off my headset to read what is happening in Slack, for example. And I have she can call me in my cockpit, and so I have her voice in my headset.
Yeah.
And I think
there is still. No, please go on.
Yeah. No, I just want to say, I think gaming is not necessarily the area that will bring AR and VR in the modern society, where everyone is going to use it. But I think it's a great proving ground to experiment with concepts and try out what concepts are working and are not working. For example, I was thinking about Pokemon Go, which is probably the most successful AR implementation of the last years, where people were walking around in the real world searching for Pokemons and catching them with their phones. And this one is something which was really, really popular, but I personally think it's like cheating, because it's not really, the success comes not really from the AR application, but from the location-based nature of this game. So you could have even catched Pokemon without the AR experience itself. Yeah, but there again, it was a great experiment for getting AR into the mind of the everyday user.
Yeah, there was his predecessor, Ingress, which was like the same game, just without AR stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, but But this leaves actually our like innovation drivers, and like in one of the last episodes, we learned that innovation drivers classically were like porn and war, and like a third thing was a new thing, a global pandemic. So this global pandemic was a thing where I hoped like VR would get a breakthrough because everyone was at home. But it didn't happen. So there was no talk about like VR stuff, VR meetings. And I think there are two reasons for it. First of all, you needed a high-end graphics card, which were, thanks to crypto mining, other things, not affordable because they were 2 or even 3 times as expensive as they normally would be. And the other thing is that the AR and VR goggles, quality-wise, are still not good enough. So like resolution-wise and usability-wise and so on, so that the majority is not using them. And with gaming, you saw like a small wave with like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One where they had some VR capabilities, but I'm not even sure if there are VR goggles for PlayStation 5 right now. Are there?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not that deep into this PlayStation realm. I don't know if they continue this line, but the PlayStation VR, I think it was the most sold VR headset back in the time where it was up to date. Yeah.
Yeah. So which leaves another innovation driver, which is porn. So like everything onto the table. So what's your VR porn experience up until now, Tarek?
That's a very good question. To be honest, of course, for scientific curiosity as an engineer, I had to check it out. But it was not a great experience because I think it is kind of cheating. The way that VR porn is sold and produced is basically 360-degree camera technology. So they are not using like regular cameras, but these 360-degree camera, which allows you as a viewer to look around in the scene, like in every direction. And this can be done on a VR headset, but it's only in three degree of freedom. So usually you have this static camera position with 300-degree with a 300-degree globe around you, and you can look around. But with virtual reality, you use 6 degrees of freedom, so you can look around, but also move around in 3 axes, right? Like forward and sideways and up and down. And so if you stand up in your chair and you walk around the room, this is a VR experience. But if you do this in a 360-degree sense, you stand up and you walk around, but the camera will not move. Yeah, and this is really, really messing with your brain. It's really, really bad. And that was the problem of the early versions of these cardboard VR goggles that you had, where you put your phone in. And it did not feel right. It was something like, hey, let's experience 360-degree video. But in my definition, it did not qualify as virtual reality. And so VR porn has exactly this problem. It is a nice toy to play around with and looking around the scene, but it did not really give you the immersion of being in there. And so the promised innovation of VR porn did not really come in there. Yeah, and so from my point of view, maybe I am not up to date. Maybe there are now like really like VR porn applications, but when it first became like a thing, I was really not impressed. It did not work well with this with these devices. Yeah.
So I tested it out of curiosity as an engineer, obviously, on our work equipment. So to check it out. And my problem was mostly the resolution. So, and also like right now, like checked if there was new innovation, there is not. So it's still the same as you remember it. It looks full of pixels. So it's not even like, it's DVD quality, PAL. So it's not even Blu-ray quality. Even if it's like high resolution, it's high resolution in 360 degrees. So, and then it's like, okay, it does look like porn in the 90s when the first internet connections came out, and like a full movie was like 50 megabytes because the resolution was so small. It would open it now on your 4K display. It would be so small that you could not see anything until you make it full screen. And that's how it looks like. So I was like, okay, who's going to buy this? Even like a normal HD porn movie looks way better. And if I'm not talking about 4K, 4K is even better. So that's like a new experience. Now you've 5K and 60 frames per second stuff, which makes a difference in like visual quality. But that's when like DVDs came through. You could buy it on VHS, which sucked because resolution was bad, and then DVD came out, digital, way better resolution. So I think the promised innovation did not happen here. And I also think that there will be no breakthrough with porn on VR goggles or even AR goggles. It's just the resolution is too bad. We were promised better headsets, but I haven't seen one. So there was like talks where you had like 4K on both eyes, and it will be so much better, but I haven't seen those.
Yeah, but now the but of this discussion. I think the problem that we see right now is that we are trying to press the old medium into this new technology. And so for evolvement, we have to produce it in a completely different way. As I said, having simply the same movie that we used in 2D pressed into the 3D or VR format, this does not work. If we actually produce something like that in a volumetric film studio with high resolution cameras, this could look better, and then you could actually move around in the scene because you can actually see it in all perspectives. And maybe the future of this medium is to not film with real actors, but using some kind of deepfake high resolution rendering, which is amazingly possible with the NVIDIA technology that we have right now and deepfaking. And so it might more be produced like a game. So you have these characters, you have these movements, you have the voices, you have the faces, and everything is rendered. But this way you can actually be in the scene, even though it is not filmed with classic cameras. And so maybe the innovation that we will see in the next 5 to 10 years is not simply moving the same application into this new medium, but actually transform the way we produce movies, and also this kind of movies, in this new style where actors are training like their actor model, not actually performing live on camera. And I think this is the way that we are going into VR, into the realm of VR. And this is why we're disappointed if we have like a classical cameraman standing around in the scene and we expect this to look amazing.
Yeah, it would still require better goggles, right, with better resolution. But this is like with OLED technology and no 5K displays, really small ones, and all these smartphone devices getting higher resolutions should be possible, right?
Yeah, but it is. So every year we have new devices, and the Valve Index that I have right now at home is not comparable to, for example, the Quest 2. And the Quest 2 is the device that most people are having. And if you wear the Quest 2 and you say, it's not a great resolution. Yeah, sure, because it's like a mobile processor for $300 or $400. What do you expect? Yeah, and the same is if I play Pong on an Atari, I could say, the immersion is not great. But yeah, of course it's not great because it's like a device that has only these capabilities. And so the capabilities of the screens and your devices, they will evolve. I don't think that this is really the deal breaker here. And this is, of course, getting better and better.
Yeah, but your goggles, they need a high graphic card, right?
Yes. This is a high-end device which is only running on like the high, how do you say, the high end on the NVIDIA graphic cards. And when I bought it, I had the, 2080 Ti, so really, really high end. And still with this high end graphics card, I was not able to turn the quality to ultra high. It was still like limited. Yeah, and so I could still upgrade and get more out of this headset. Yeah, but that's always when you move on the high end of the spectrum.
Yeah, but I also think that the current graphic card prices, and so graphic cards did not really evolve in the last 2 years or like even 3 years, and that's a big issue. That's really blocking also like VR games to become more mainstream, I think. That's an issue.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I do not argue that we are already there and VR gaming is like the status quo. It's still inconvenient and very expensive, no question. But I think that what we are seeing right now with the movement from Facebook to the metaverse, for example, and the the bet that even Apple is going into the AR and VR realm by releasing, hopefully, this kind of promised VR headset. I think those are the steps that are bringing us into this realm. And I don't think that we have to expect the Ready Player One way of dealing with VR and AR technology, but having something like a HUD display in my glasses, or actually using these things in my home office while I will meet with my colleagues, for example, those will become standard use cases. And so I think the gaming scenario is only one thing, and there will be 2D gaming people who prefer gaming on a regular screen, and others with other games that will play on their devices. This will always be the case. But with the metaverse, for example, this is going to be a new way of dealing with gaming and other use cases. And so I think the next generation will not have this discussion if this is going to become a reality or how to deal with it. It will simply be another place to meet and another place to interact and store data and move around and do things. Now I wanted to point my finger to the worldwide developer conference from Apple, which is going to happen tomorrow. But for everyone who's listening and watching this episode of the podcast, it will be in the past. So it's kind of a bet that I'm now saying maybe they will announce the new AR VR headset from Apple. But when you see this podcast, you will know if I'm right or wrong. So this will happen from our perspective tomorrow, and so maybe they will bring something into this direction. And my bet is the moment that Apple jumps onto this course and touches this category of devices, suddenly everybody is going to talk about this, and everyone is going to wear these Apple glasses because this is then cool. Right now it's just for nerds, but the moment that Apple is going into this game, this will be the new standard, as they did with the iPod, as they did with the Apple Watch, as they did with the smartphone. When Apple starts, then everybody is going to adapt it.
I'm really hoping for this. And this is a really interesting point you said like a minute before. The next generation will see this as a normal meeting point. For me, this was like chat. So when I grew up with the first like internet chats, ICQ, AIM, MSN, and so on, and for me it was total normal to mostly meet my friends, and even my first girlfriend, we mostly chatted, right? With my first girlfriend, we used chat so often. I still have like, I don't know how many chat logs we had back in the days. And with all my friends, even in high school, we did hang out and chat. And even when I started studying, I was studying electrical engineering. We had our IRC server, obviously, and we did hang out there and did chat. There was not even history, so you were either online or you were not, and then you could see the chat message only if you were online. Right. So this was my meeting place. This is how I grew up, and I can really imagine like my children, that it will be normal for them to meet their friends, not like at McDonald's or wherever, or in a restaurant, or like at the bus station, but just in VR. And then they're hanging out in VR, and I will be always say, go out of the home and don't stay in your room all the time. What are you even doing with your goggles all this? This is unhealthy. No.
Right. Yeah. And that's totally true. I only recently bought an Apple Watch because before that, I always said, I don't really need it. I have everything that I need. I have my MacBook, and I have like a smartphone. And if I want to read my email, I take out my phone. But right now, it is really just a question of convenience, that if I get a message, I simply have to look at my watch and I can quickly skim it, and I don't have to get my phone. Yeah, so it's still not necessary, but it is really a way of handling things conveniently. And so I believe with the let's not call it Apple glasses, and some AR glasses that I wear, this will be the same thing. It's not necessary, but not having to look at my watch, but simply have like messages in my glasses, this will be the new normal. And if you don't wear glasses or you don't like it, you can still use your watch or your phone or whatever. It's just like another aspect that you can use, another device that you can use if you want to. And at some point of time, we won't have the phones anymore because we have a bucket with the CPU in it or something, and my wearables are doing everything that I need. And so I do not have to carry around this brick anymore. This is really inconvenient, and people can't imagine this thing. But in the future generations, for them, it will be very, very normal. And for example, right now, if I want to have a phone call with you, like a video call, I have to take out my phone, and this is already very modern, right? Or I have to go to a computer, but simply, I don't know, touching my glasses and have a hologram of you in my room and talk to you, this will be very convenient. I don't have to take out any devices out of my pocket or from my desk. I can simply tap my glasses and see you and have a quick conversation and then hang up and you're gone again. And I can't imagine anything more convenient than this.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think, but this is like the next step. Maybe VR, like real VR, is just like a bridging technology, which is now for nerds and so on. And the actually breakthrough will not come from virtual reality, but from augmented reality, right? So this will be the next step. And maybe then the step after that will be that your AR device actually also additionally can do VR. So for example, like you saw in Star Trek Picard, where they actually wear AR glasses, but they are also like seeing a virtual room where they work or where they access like a remote computer. So because maybe you are like me, I'm currently on the Greek island of Crete, and I want to access my workstation at home. So maybe I will have like AR goggles where I see my big screen, see all my equipment where I have, and can remotely access it to make work easier. Because obviously I can't take a big screen with me, but I can take my AR goggles, which maybe have like a 20K resolution, which looks really normal. And obviously, it's inconvenient to see this like vacation room here in the house for work, but maybe I see my working desk and I see my normal display, multiple displays I can position to work with. Maybe that will be the next thing. And the other thing is, which I would like to touch in the end here, is actually the currently available AR glasses, which are either the Microsoft HoloLens or the Facebook acquired Oculus. So we had the Oculus One, was it? Which one did we have, Tarek? Oculus One to play around?
Yeah, both. So right now we have the Quest 2, but in the past we had the Quest 1, yeah.
Okay, so the to play around with and do some real augmented reality stuff, but they are not really available right now. So AR, like real AR goggles, are just for conferences right now. So I saw the HoloLens, I saw other stuff. I saw new industry devices, but I've never heard of really industry using those technology. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest users is the US military, for example, and I think they had they have contracts with Microsoft using the HoloLens technology in their airplane headsets and these things. And this was, of course, very controversial because many software developers, they are not really okay with having their technology used by the military, but this is one of the biggest users of this technology. And apart from that, I'm not sure where exactly in factories or business usage people are using these things, but I guess mainly out of inconvenience because the HoloLens is still very bulky and large and has a very limited field of view. It is not the way of AR as we imagine it. But I think if I take a look at the future, AR will be the technology that will be used by everyday people, use it, for example, in contact lenses or in their glasses. But VR will always be a very special kind of experience that you're going to have. For example, if I want to take a look at the new moon base that is built, that will be built in the next years, it makes sense to have like this VR experience where my reality is blocked out and I am immersed in this moon environment. But the everyday usage of having a quick call with you and your hologram, for example, or having Google Maps annotations while I walk the street and Google Maps is displaying there, this is the road where you have to take a turn right. This will be very conveniently my everyday usage of AR technology. I don't want to have this in VR by blocking my sight while I'm driving a car or something like this. doesn't make sense. Yeah? And so I think VR will always be the special case, but AR, I am 100% sure, will find its way into the future society. And when I say future, I don't mean like 100 years, but somewhere in the next decade.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think VR goggles are also heavily used by the US military for drone flights, right? So you have a drone flying straight, but you have a movable camera. So obviously it's easier to just move your head to see what maybe the drone is seeing, and have a more immersive feeling as a pilot, actually. And I think this is currently also already state of the art.
Right. So, please go ahead.
No, I would wrap it up now. If you have some famous last words. Otherwise,
please go ahead.
Go ahead. So for all our listeners, I have a question. So do you have VR equipment at home, and how often are you really using it? Do you have like the goggles for your PlayStation? Are you using it? Did you just buy it and it landed in next to your sofa, never used again? So it would be really interesting to hear your experiences with VR goggles and equipment. Tell us in the comments, write us an email about it, or even what you think about what will be the future of VR and AR. Will we see a World of Warcraft effect where there's this one breakthrough online game for VR? Or will we just say VR is a niche product and AR will be the next thing and we just skip over like Ready Player One stuff? So, and otherwise, see you again next week where we talk again about the hottest engineering topics. So, Tarek, what's it going to be?
Let's talk about artificial intelligence next week, because this is a topic that is not as trendy as VR right now, but it is way more important because artificial intelligence is already embedded in basically everything we do and touch today. And so it is very interesting and fascinating to take a look at where we are in the evolution of AI technology and what is going to happen in the next years. So see you again next week. Yeah.
Which reminds me of a great joke somebody told me. So Tarek, what's the difference in artificial intelligence and machine learning?
I don't know.
It's if it's written on a PowerPoint slide, it's AI. If it's some engineering related stuff, it's machine learning.
Yeah, I kind of disagree, but let's talk about this next week. So see you again next week at the same time, at the same spot.
Bye.
Bye.